Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay, may we all give a warm welcome to our main speaker, Clara.
Hi, my name is Clara. I'm an alcoholic. Boy, it's really good to be here tonight. And before I forget, I want to thank Lynn for asking me to share at this meeting. It's really a privilege and an honor to share at an AA meeting. It's a little bit scary sharing at a meeting this big. And I always get a little bit nervous when I'm asked to pitch for 45 minutes because I'm always afraid that I'm not going to be able to talk for 45 minutes. But the last time I spoke 45 minutes, I talked so long that the secretary finally had to do me like this, you know, to get me to shut up. So anyway, I said a little prayer. You people have taught me how to pray here in this room, in these meetings, and I said a prayer that I needed to say, and I needed to hear myself say to God that, God, I'm kind of scared, but I know I'm here. I'm going to do this because I'm just a channel. You're going to speak through me. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be profound. I don't have to do anything but just show up. And God, please give me courage just to show up there and be a channel. Someone out there is going to need to hear what I have to say, someone in the room, and if nobody else, I need to hear it. It'll be good for me. And one reason I'm a little bit skeptical about sharing right now is because I'm in a very bad place right now in my life. And I'm one of those people who thought that once I got 18 years of sobriety, I'd be tiptoeing through the tulips, I'd have everything together, my life would be great, and I wouldn't have any more problems. And but I'm learning as I stay sober and keep coming back to these meetings that life continues to happen. And I was told early in my sobriety that you're going to have to stay sober through all kinds of things. If you stay around here long enough, you're going to have to stay sober and go through the very same things you went through as a drunk person. A lot of chaos and a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of anger, resentment, and rage. And a lot of wreckage of the past that I've had to deal with, a lot of deaths in my family, and but I'm still standing up here as a sober person saying that this too shall pass. I'm going to be okay. As long as I just keep showing up and doing what I was taught to do as a newcomer, I'm going to be okay. And one of these tools is to stand up here and share and speak when I'm asked to speak. And never to say no to an AA request. I've learned that. And this is one of the most beautiful things, I think one of the most beautiful tools that we have, because no matter how nervous I feel about coming here, when I finish, I'm going to feel like I'm sitting on top of the world. You know, I'm going to feel like a wonderful person. I did it one more time. And so that's a wonderful part of the program. And I felt that way when I was a new person too. You know, when I got up to the podium and shared and admitted that I was an alcoholic, I felt wonderful. And I've always loved getting up at the podium and talking. Now, I came into AA, it's been a little bit over 18 years ago, and I'll be celebrating my birthday, God willing, in about another week. I'll be celebrating 18 years of sobriety. So that gives me the privilege to stand here and share with you what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. I started drinking when I was about 14 years old. I'll go back to my childhood. I was raised in a very a family where there were a lot of alcoholics drinking and partying, and then the other half of the family were religious fanatics. So I didn't know what part of the family I wanted to be like. And but early on, I knew I never wanted to be a religious fanatic. You know? To this day, I hate religious fanatics. And my mother and father got married and had 3 little children, one right after the other. I was the oldest. And I think my father must have gotten kind of scared because he went out and got a job working for the railroad, which caused him to be away from home most of the time. And so he was always away from home, and my mother was either following him around, she was an Al-Anon, I think, following him around instead of taking care of us, trying to get him to shape up and stop drinking and come home. And then when she wasn't doing that, she took a job as a live-in maid. So she was kind of out of the house. So that means that me and my sister and brother grew up without any kind of a stable family life. But it was a big family. My grandparents took care of me for the most part. And so I loved my grandmother, and there was always a lot of activity in the house and people visiting us. And my grandfather was a minister, and my uncles and aunts were always playing in the band at church. And so there was a lot of gaiety, a lot of singing, and even though I didn't feel like the other children who had families, I still had a lot of fun in that family. And when my parents moved to California and moved us out here, I really missed that family, because now here I was about 12 years old when we moved to California. My father and mother had started on three more children 1 year apart. And so they had 3 more children, and I moved out here to be with them. I always say that they must have had a spiritual awakening and decided to bring us out to California to be with them. And but my problem started then, I think, because I was very disappointed that my father had turned, you know, I was living with him now, and I could see that he was an angry alcoholic. And he was always, you know, he was always getting into trouble, and he was very angry. He was always agitating me, and I was agitating him. And my mother was so busy with all these little babies that she had that she had no time for me. So I was very disappointed. So that's when I started feeling really angry and vindictive for my father. I wanted to get him. I wanted to show him. I really was angry with him. And I think that's when the rage started within me, when I was so disappointed with my father. Always thinking that, you know, he's going to love me and I'm going to be okay once we're reunited, and then to have all this stuff going on, I got real rageful and vindictive, and I started drinking, and And whereas I had been a very good student at school, I had been into acting and drama and public speaking and reading poetry and, you know, just a beautiful, sensitive little person. And I'm just really getting in touch with that in recent years, because I thought that I was just, you know, for a long time I thought I was just crazy. That's all I thought about myself. I'm crazy, and I thought that I wanted to kill myself. I was crazy and unhappy. But then when I look back through writing inventories, I see that I was very sensitive and creative, and I started hanging around with a lot of kids at school. We had a group of girls we called our gang, and we had a lot of fun together. It was really a gang that we ran in, but we did everything. We started partying together and going out at night and going to the beach, and we just hung out, and we had a lot of fun together. And we used to ditch school and play cards together, and we started drinking together. And I drank, I think at 14, that's when I started drinking wine. And so I think when I started drinking wine, I got sick and I threw up, and I swore I'd never drink wine again. And when I came into this program, I still had in my mind, I'll never drink wine, because wine to me meant that I was an alcoholic, and I always hated wine from the time I first started drinking. But, and then when I was about 18 years old and graduated from high school, I met my first husband, and we were walking down the street one day, and it was kind of love at first sight. He was a nice-looking man, and I was a nice-looking young lady, and we just fell in love right there in the street and decided to start going out together. And we started dating and decided to go off and get married after about 3 or 4 months. And I was, well, 17 years old, really. I had not graduated from high school, really. He had a drug problem, and I found out he was using heroin, and he was selling heroin to all the kids in the neighborhood. Well, I guess they were adults, I don't know. I really didn't care at the time. I just thought, well, he's got a lot of money, and he's taken me a lot of places, and we were married, and we were going to set up this real happy family life. And we had a house with a white picket fence. Well, the white picket fence was the house in front. We kind of lived in back. But anyway, we were trying to be this happy family, you know, and he was a neighborhood drug dealer, and I was going to be the nice little wife, and I was drinking all the time and trying to make him stop using drugs and stop selling drugs. I was always after him to stop whatever he was doing. And but it was kind of hard being the happily married little family with the police crashing down the door, you know, every other night. The police crashed through the door and tore open the mattresses trying to find drugs and hauling him off to jail, and me screaming and crying, "Take him with you, take him, I hate him," you know, and all this fighting, and we got into a lot of violence too. And so it was a very chaotic kind of lifestyle that I got into with him. And he was frequently going to jail. So, you know, and I always felt that because of his lifestyle, if it had not been that he was going to jail so much, we might have been able to make it together. Well, that's what I thought, but actually, he used drugs all of his life. He never stopped using drugs. He died as a drug addict. So I don't know what would have happened. But I did care a lot for this man. But during one of his trips to jail, I decided that I was going to get married to someone else. I met my next perfect mate. And I fell in love with him right away, you know, and we got pregnant and we got married, and in that order. And but he was drinking a lot at that time, and so was I. And my alcoholism, I think at this time, was so advanced that it was just impossible for me to be a wife. I couldn't be a mother. I had another child. I had 2 children. I couldn't be a mother. I couldn't be a partner. I was showing up at work drunk. I was insanely jealous. I was jealous of this man. I followed him to work. I followed him back home. It was just this insane jealousy that made me really act out a lot in that marriage. And I was in so much pain. I couldn't believe how much pain I was in. And with a man that I didn't really, you know, and thinking about it, I thought, well, I don't really love this man, so it's something wrong with me psychologically. I couldn't love him. I didn't feel love for him, and yet I was jealous and insane and drinking on a daily basis. And so this continued for a while, and then I got a divorce from him because it was getting so insane. I couldn't handle the pain anymore with him. And so I stayed as a single person for about 10 years, and that's when I really got into the alcoholism as a single parent, going to bars. I could identify with you a lot. I was just going to bars all the time, hanging out in parties, getting drunk, and not knowing what to do, still always looking for a husband and someone to take care of me. And I couldn't be a mother to those children. Finally, I decided to let my ex-husband take the youngest boy to live with him. And I put my oldest boy into a foster home because I couldn't work. I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't keep the apartment. I couldn't keep the apartment clean. I just couldn't do anything, you know, and taking care of children was very difficult when you're a young alcoholic woman. I just wanted to go party. That's all I wanted to do, was go to parties and go to bars. And this whole thing just interfered with my partying. So finally, I met my 3rd husband, and that's where I think I really reached my bottom. This was a man of my nightmares. And I still have nightmares about him. Even today, I have nightmares about him, you know, and when I see somebody that, like this OJ thing that's going on today now, I think, you know, I could have killed that man. He could have killed me, because we got into so many violent kinds of fights. And so when I see OJ and just getting so crazy on the drugs, that's what it seemed to me, that he would try to blame his whole predicament on his wife and get into such a rage that he would kill someone. To me, that's what happened. You know, it's like, there but for the grace of God go I, that a person could kill another person in a rage like that. But I was always in a rage with him, and he was with me. And there but for the grace of Alcoholics Anonymous go I too, because I came into this program. But we had a daughter. You know, I met him when I was 38 years old, I had gone into real estate, and I was working in a real estate office, and this man was working in the office, and he had a lot of money. He had a beautiful home up in View Park and 2 Cadillacs, and he was a single man, and he had, the lady whose office I worked for told me that he was having a lot of problems with his children in and out of juvenile hall, and the police were always going to his house. And she suggested that I not get involved with him.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
But I decided that with his money and my looks and my brains, I could sober him up and we would both be happy together. Well, needless to say, with this rage, insanity that was going on with me and the jealousy, we just got into a lot of physical confrontations. One night we were fighting, we were having a fight, and my daughter was just a tiny baby sitting in the high chair. And he was going to leave the room. He was going to leave. And we had 1 bottle of liquor there. Now, I didn't care if he left, but I was determined he wasn't going to take that bottle of alcohol. At 2 o'clock in the morning, there were no liquor stores open, you know. So I hit him and told him he could not take the bottle with him, and we started a fight over this bottle of alcohol. And I ended up getting my nose cut. He hit me in the face with that bottle, and my nose was cut, and thank God I had the clarity to have a plastic surgeon, when I went to the hospital, to have a plastic surgeon stitch my nose up, or I would have a scar there right on my face to show me what great lengths I went to be happy with this man, you know. And so finally I did leave him. And I was living in Santa Monica at the time, working at a real estate office, and I met a lady who was in AA. And she suggested that I come to the Brentwood meetings. And I told her that I thought that I might have a problem with alcohol, but I definitely was not an alcoholic. My mother was the alcoholic, not me. And all my family were alcoholics, but I knew it wasn't me. But she said, well, why don't you go anyway? Just go over and investigate Alcoholics Anonymous. So I decided to go, and she told me that. I said, are there men there? She said, yes. Black men? Yes. So I put 2 and 2 together, and I figured, well, black men, Brentwood, that means they're rich black men. So I'll get another rich man, and this time I'll make sure he's not a violent rich man. And so I came into my first AA meeting thinking that maybe I could sober one of them up, you know, and we could tiptoe off into happy destiny. And so I arrived at my first AA meeting in my dark glasses, just in case my fans might recognize me. I didn't want anybody to recognize me. And it was a wonderful meeting. I loved you people. From the first time I walked in the door, I couldn't believe that there were people actually staying sober and not drinking and shaking hands and drinking coffee. And your eyes were so clear and bright. I just couldn't believe it. And I had to come back for a second time to see. You know, I just couldn't believe it. And you said, keep coming back, and shaking my hands. And I felt so good as a result of being in that room that I did stay sober for about 60 days. And then one night I went out to a party that they were having for a friend of mine, a birthday party. And they had a big bottle of Hennessy cognac. And I took one look at that bottle of Hennessy cognac, and I said, well, I'll be an alcoholic some other time, you know. This is not the time to be an alcoholic. And all the people there were drinking, you know, it's what we call a slippery place at a very slippery time. Everybody there was drinking, and I just decided I'll forget about AA for the time being. And I stayed out there for another 2 years drinking. And I came back, and I reached those new bottoms that I thought I never would reach, you know, really hanging out with men that just because of the bottle. Before, I would hang out with men thinking maybe I'll get a husband who will take care of me. But now I was just hanging out with men, anybody who had the bottle, picking up strange men in bars, and just going to a low that I never thought I would go to. And in my mind, I wasn't really doing that. You know, it's funny how alcoholism can destroy the brain so much that I didn't even know I was doing that. You know, I thought I was just trying to have a little fun and trying to find a husband. And God brought me back into these meetings. I realized that today. The Eskimo was a lady that lived in the apartment behind me, brought me back to AA and just said, well, just go to meetings every day. And I started going to the Brentwood women's meetings. This time she suggests, whenever I heard women sharing, I love the women's meetings because I didn't identify with the men. I thought that, well, I've never been in jail, and I've never been to Skid Row. I haven't done what a lot of you have done. So I didn't think I was an alcoholic, but the women's stories I really identified with. Women drinking in the closet and not being able to take care of your children and not being able to be a wife or a mother, and all those feelings I identified with. So I started going to the women's meetings 3 times a week. And that's where I met my first sponsor, Millie Greenberg. And Millie belonged to the Pacific group. And Millie brought me to the Pacific group. And that was a very good experience for me because the Pacific group had a lot of, you know, they're very structured meetings, and my sponsor told me you have to be there on Wednesday night no matter what, even if you're sick, unless you have 102-degree temperature, and you have to take your temperature, otherwise you'd be there on Wednesday night. She didn't insist that I go on Saturday night because I had a whole lot of things planned on Saturday night that I had to do. So she didn't insist that I go on Saturday night, but that was a very good experience for me. I love Clancy. I love to hear his jokes. I didn't like his attitude a lot of times, you know, because he used to stop me in the meeting and say, why don't you get here on time? I didn't like that. I thought he was picking on me. But I kept coming back because I thought, well, you know, he thinks I'm important. He wants me to be here on time. And so I went to the Pacific group for about 5 years. And Millie was my sponsor, and I started sponsoring other people. I brought another lady that lived in my apartment building. She was drinking. Her name is Barbara Weatherford. She talks about me a lot, so I'm going to mention her. She lived in the same apartment building with me, and she used to stagger out drunk every morning, and I would see her, you know, during my first 2 years of sobriety. I thought, damn, that woman needs to go to AA. And so I asked her one morning, I said, I asked her to come in and sit down and have a cup of coffee. So would you like to go to an AA meeting? Sure. She was the most agreeable alcoholic I've ever run across. She said, sure, I'll go to an AA meeting. And when we got there after the meeting, I said, why don't you try to stay sober and keep coming back? Sure. Sure, I'll do it. I mean, she was so willing. So we've been friends ever since. And I started sponsoring people, and that was at first nobody would ask me to be their sponsor because I was always on the pity pot and blaming him and blaming them and mad because I couldn't get a job and my money was running out, and my sponsor said, well, just don't worry about it. As long as you have enough money to pay the rent, you're okay. And then I got involved. I had been involved in a political campaign. During my first year of sobriety, I got involved with a Jimmy Carter campaign, and I went to the convention. Once I sobered up, I was about 3 months sober, and I really got involved in the campaign. And I went to the Democratic convention, and as a newcomer, and all the ladies in the room in the Brentwood Women's Meeting told me to. They said, as soon as you get to New York, you call AA, because I was really kind of afraid to go to New York, and they were afraid for me because they know how slippery it is for a newcomer, 3 months to go to a national convention. And I got there, and really a couple of times I was looking at all those people, and I thought, now these people are shaping the nation. These people really are the ones who have it together, and they're drinking. And I thought, well, I should be able to drink too. But something told me, well, why don't I just wait until I get home? Just wait until I get home. They said, don't drink, call AA. I called AA. And then the next night I saw a lady drunk, passed out over on the couch, and I thought, well, that would be me. I wouldn't just be drinking socially, I'd be drunk, passed out on the couch. So after that I decided that I was not going to drink. So I came back, and the miracles started to happen for me here in these rooms. I started to want to be sober more than I wanted to be drunk. I started to want to work the steps. Millie helped me work the steps. She helped me to realize that I was powerless over alcohol. She sent me to Al-Anon. I'm also a member of Al-Anon. And I found out in Al-Anon that I'm powerless over alcoholics also. I'm powerless over every single thing. I'm powerless over my children. I'm powerless over the other alcoholics that I sponsor. It was good for me to learn that I'm powerless over them. And my life had become extremely unmanageable as a result of trying to shape up every other people, trying to find someone to shape up. Not wanting to look at myself, never wanting to shape me up, I just went around crazy, and I don't know how I did that because I had a lot of mental problems, and yet I was trying to shape somebody else up. So I've come back to the point that now I realize that I have a lot of mental problems, and I just need to work on myself, And so this program has been wonderful. As I said, I've been here for 18 years. I've gone through a lot of experiences. I've gotten involved in conventions. I love conventions. I just do everything that AA has to offer. I've done a lot of traveling. I've gone to AA meetings in Paris. I went to the American Church several times. I went to Paris and went to meetings. The last trip that I took was a trip to Russia. I went to Russia during the time the AA group was there. And they were taking meetings over to Russia, and I was there at that time with them. I met with them. I didn't get to go to the meetings, unfortunately. My itinerary was a little bit different because I didn't actually travel with them. But that was a beautiful, wonderful experience. I've gone to the International Convention, and AA has become my whole life, and what a wonderful life, you know, what a wonderful life. And to think that I may have missed it if I had not come back here the second time. I may have missed being a grandmother for my grandchildren who love me, and they're so beautiful. And I've had the opportunity to take my grandchildren skiing, you know, and this was a wonderful experience that I never thought. I used to be drunk on the couch thinking, one of these days I'm going to go skiing again. For years I did that, and it was after I got sober in this program that I was able to go skiing, and that was a beautiful, wonderful experience. And I had a lot of fear too, you know, and I got up to the top of the hill and I said, well, God, I guess you're going to get me down this hill safely without breaking my back. And of course I ski so slow that it's not too much chance that I would break my back. And I want to touch briefly on what's going on right now, because I know that I need to talk about what's happening now in my life that's causing me a lot of problems. My son, whose addiction to cocaine caused him to lose everything. They say cocaine is an addiction that says you're making too much money. And so he lost everything. And also we lost an apartment building that we owned, went into foreclosure, a building that we had owned together. And that was supporting us pretty much so for the past 10 years. It was a very wise investment. And but it went into foreclosure recently. And you know, he just lost everything and became homeless in the process. And I had to move to a much small little dinky apartment that I'm trying to get used to. And so I've had a lot of financial insecurity. For years, I never had financial insecurity. And I thought, boy, this is really something. I don't have financial insecurity, even when things weren't really going right or I couldn't find a job. But I always had money in the bank, you know, and money in the bank can take away a lot of financial insecurity, you know. Now that I don't have any more money in the bank, I'm really suffering from financial insecurity. And besides that, I'm afraid that IRS is going to come after me because of capital gains. And so that's a fear that's in the future, you know. They're not after me right now. But I've never, you know, thought that I would. So you're talking about owing IRS, and a lot of people talking about owing IRS. So I guess I'll get through it, you know, that they do cooperate with people, and I'll get through it. And I've watched my family members die one by one, the ones that were all alcoholics that I used to point my finger at my family because my sisters grew up under the worst, during the worst part of my mother's alcoholism, so they all turned to drugs, and my sisters and brothers have been dying one by one, and that's very painful for me. I have lost a sister about 2 weeks ago, and a brother about 2 years ago, another brother about 3 years ago, a nephew was shot recently, and I've just been devastated by all this stuff that's going on. And when my nephew was shot, it was so devastating to me, and I wanted to blame my sister for this. I felt like she was sacrificing this kid by not moving him out of the neighborhood. And but then I realized that maybe I sacrificed my kids too by not moving them out of the neighborhood. I didn't know how to move them out of the neighborhood or where to move them to. So that's a feeling that I'm having, you know, like we're sacrificing the children. And but I'm powerless over that too. I'm powerless, and I know I have to turn that over to God. And I have so also it's been difficult for me to talk in the meetings. All of a sudden I've just gotten this thing where I want to look good. I don't want to talk about these things in the meeting. I don't want anybody to know. And so that's caused me to have a lot of frustrations too. And I just need to say that, because I need to say that to hear myself say that does not make sense at all. That's how I got well, is talking about all the insanity that's going on in my life. And I have to keep doing that in order to get past what's going on. And I'm very grateful to this program, and I'm grateful that I have a God in my life that's taking care of me today. If I hadn't had you people teaching me that God, you always told me God is not through with you yet. Let us love you until you love yourself. All these beautiful AA cliches that kept me coming back till now, that I do believe in God. And I came in here not believing in God, you know, and not wanting to have anything to do with God. And today I know that God is taking care of me. And thank you very much for letting me.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down. and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.